with no sign of Alice. And 2 weeks after Alice's disappearance on June 23rd, 1963, her mother would have a vivid dream. In this dream, she saw Alice lying in a gully or a pit, lifeless on a rock. The dream was so absolute and unsettling that she shared it with her husband the following day. And unable to shake the image, Mrs. Mathers insisted that they search this place. So the Mathers sought help from a friend who was very familiar with this area. Mrs. Mathers would describe the area from her dream, and together they would travel to a gravel pit about 14 miles from their home, and they would begin searching opposite sides. And it wasn't long before one of them found a small figure lying on a rock, just as Mrs. Mathers had described. The figure was severely beaten and unrecognizable, but the clothing and pair of new shoes was identified as Alice's. And this was no accident, and there was no mystery here. Alice was murdered. And an inquiry into another case that tied in with the Mathers case turned up 2 suspects, a pair of brothers, 30-year-old Kenneth Lloyd Meeker and 35-year-old James Leonard Meeker. They'd kidnapped her along her walk home, grabbing her from Lougheed Highway. And fibers recovered from under Alice's fingernails matched those in a jacket and trousers recovered from the home of Kenneth. And hair on Alice's body was also similar to that recovered from a blanket at the house. And neither brother spoke, asked if they had anything to say for themselves, because they're pieces of shit, but both would be charged with capital murder, though Kenneth was the one who had done all the killing. In a document containing the names of those sentenced to death in Canada between 1867 and 1976, Kenneth's name appears on page 217, though the result of his trial was life imprisonment. These deaths are undoubtedly horrifically tragic, but there is an air of mystery around them. What happened to Gustave wasn't a mystery. People saw what happened, and what happened to Alice had been a mystery, but the mystery was solved. The mystery is how both of these people had women in their lives that had dreams that revealed where their bodies were. Gustave's wife and Alice's mother. Like, how does that happen? Is it just a wild coincidence, or is it supernatural? We'll never really know. But subconscious perception could be the answer. Both women may have subconsciously absorbed information from their surroundings or conversations that they consciously processed. The human brain is constantly taking in vast amount of sensory data, much of which we don't actively notice. It's possible that during their waking hours, they observed subtle clues, such as landscape, weather patterns, or even patterns in the search efforts that their conscious minds just overlooked. And in their dreams, these pieces of information could have been synthesized into a coherent message or image, which then manifested into a dream, which guided them to the bodies. And many people boast about the power of the subconscious mind and its ability to translate input from all senses and multitask when the conscious mind is focusing on one thing at a time. And one other interesting potential answer is a scientific concept that, well, kind of crazy, has become an accepted fact. Quantum entanglement. Quantum entanglement is a newer idea, definitely to me. I've not heard of it much, just looking into it like for this case, with examples being yin and yang, or protons and electrons. Essentially, when two things are subject to quantum entanglement, when you do something to one, it affects the other. As said before, this happens with protons and electrons, and the idea of yin and yang is also similar to this. In fact, when the wave functions of entangled photons was visualized, it appears very reminiscent of yin and yang. So can people be linked in such a way? Who knows? I'm not a scientist, nor do I pretend to be. Okay, I got A's in science in high school and whatnot. That does not make me a quantum entanglement professor of sorts. But it does feel almost like when they say two twins are physically linked, and when one is hurt, the other feels it, you know? It makes me think a lot, you know? I think a lot, go outside of myself and everything. It's very interesting, but I think it's really awesome that these women were able to find their loved ones and kind of have that closure that the other cases didn't. Which brings us to our next case, the Oz effect. So on March 14th, 2014, a man by the name of Dr. James McGrogan would disappear outside Vail, Colorado on a hiking trip. He and 3 other of his friends went on this hike, and after some strange things happened, he disappeared. Dr. James McGrogan was a man in excellent shape. He was a 39-year-old physician and someone very familiar with the outdoors and hiking. With his 3 friends, as I said, he decided to go on a hiking trip and do some skiing. They gathered some supplies at a store nearby, and they would also rent equipment at a place called Confluence Kayaks, where they took gear and began their long hike into the Holy Cross Wilderness. The route started from the town of Vail to the Iceman hut, the path being about 6 to 8 miles long. However, the elevation of this hut was around 11,000 feet due to it being up a mountain, which is a lot. Okay, I come from the mountainous Rocky Mountains up in BC, alright? I know elevation, alright? That's really high. And it's a popular area for hikers nearby since it's very scenic and nature-oriented. And in the right weather, it's perfect for skiing, which was the point of the group's hike. And they carried supplies such as a split snowboard, a blanket, a GPS, a cell phone with an extra battery, a shovel, and medical supplies.
Wait, what did you say?
1 second. I'm gonna join on my phone so I can just lie in bed.
Okay.
Looks like.
Hey, don't be an idiot. Don't. Wait. Welcome back. No.
It's much more comfortable.
No.
With some additional gear as well, just to ensure that everything went smoothly on the hike and that they were prepared for anything that might happen. So during the hike at around 10 a.m., the group decided to take a rest at one of the stops due to their lack of experience compared to McGrogan. McGrogan would state that he still had energy and told the group he would meet them at the next rest stop, to which the group agreed, because he was experienced and he knew what he was doing. So there was no worries of him really needing help. So after
take off your pants whenever you're in bed.
I do that because it's more comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. You know I'm gonna do that.
I'm at 106. I'm gonna be a little cunt and get to 110, and if I die, I'm just gonna submit that to be a bitch.
What's the 5th place?
The 5th place is 110, so I'm gonna get to 111 just to be a bitch and be like,
Okay, yeah.
So after the group rested, they got all their gear packed up and they began to make their way to the next rest stop to meet him. But as soon as they got there, they would realize that McGrogan was not there. Confused, they thought that he may have gone further, just being impatient waiting for the group, so they continued yet again. And after hours passed and around 5:30 p.m., after searching all day, they realized something was very wrong. So one member of the group decided to hike all the way back down to notify the Eagle County Sheriff's Office, which then, in turn, led to a 5-day search trying to find McGrogan. And what confused the searching party and his friends was that McGrogan was extremely experienced. How could he have just disappeared out of nowhere? Sure, there was snow on the ground, but it was packed so firmly that it was impossible to lose sight of where you needed to go, especially for a skilled hiker and skier. And no phone calls were exchanged, according to David Politis, but according to a Facebook post that we found, it says, McGrogan's cell phone pinged once the day he went missing, but after that, it went dead. But these are conflicting reports, so I will leave it to the expert David Politis. So a search team and 3 helicopters were sent over the 1,800 square mile area to try to find James McGrogan. But still, there was no evidence as to where he had gone. Strangely enough, footprints should have led the search to find him. Only like light flurries were falling from the sky, and there was absolutely no way the tracks could have disappeared entirely. But after 5 days of searching, he was nowhere to be found. So unfortunately, they would call off the search. But during the search, there were reports of eerie silences in the area, tied to the phenomenon that they called the Oz effect, which involves a complete silence in an area, like almost unnatural. No signs of wildlife, no signs of moving brush or trees, just complete silence, which is horrifying. And this feeling can also bring on a sense of being watched or a detachment from reality. And researchers claimed that the silence was extremely eerie. The supernatural silence gives the body the feeling that something is very wrong. But after 20 days after his disappearance, his body would be found 4.5 miles away through 2 gullies over a 12,000-foot mountain in an area where they completely didn't expect to find him. And he would be found by 3 hikers at 9,950 feet in elevation in Boot Falls, where search and rescue would later recover his body. It was on an ice sheet, so the surrounding area would be completely frozen compared to its flowing water in the image here.
We're at Booth Creek Falls, 9,950 feet in elevation. That's Booth Creek behind me, and this is the location where in April, 20 days after his disappearance, Dr. McGrogan was found on an ice sheet. And that's what it would have been. This would have been solid ice back in April. He was found wearing black leggings, a shirt, an undershirt, gray socks, no coat, no gloves, no boots.
And the jacket, along with the GPS, was found unused and packed away in his backpack for some odd reason. However, again, the phone was not used, and conflicting reports state that he would have had service around this location as well, but we can really never know. But according to David Politis, there were 2 bars of reception from the location where he died.
The interesting part behind the phone is that the phone had a backup battery, and when the coroner took the phone, he turned it on and it worked. Now, where we're at right now, I have 2 bars in active service on my phone. And if you look at the mountain over here to my right, you'll notice that it's huge. It only makes sense that the further you went up into that mountain, you would still have phone service like I do now.
And they also found his snowboard where it was later returned. He was also wearing a helmet, and underneath the helmet, they had noticed he had severe head injuries and trauma to the left side of his chest, and a broken femur. And what makes this strange is the complete disappearance of his boots. And we have seen this before in many 411 disappearance cases, and especially in the Dyatlov Pass case, where for some reason shoes and boots were removed during these times, which I believe.
This podcast is scaring me in the foot.
Believe is due to hypothermia, because it is very, very common for people experiencing hypothermia to get very, very hot and take off their clothes. So that could be a factor. And it would kind of make sense because his coat wasn't found on him either. So he had been almost like shedding layers. So that could be a possibility. So not only did he have a GPS and a phone, and the path wasn't too confusing to get off of, especially for an experienced skier and hiker, how did James McGrogan get lost and die in such a tragic way? It's essentially completely unexplainable. David Politis went back to Confluence Kayaks, the place where all the stuff was rented.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out where the mic on that is. So I just realized I won't be able to chill.
And would ask Brian some questions. He was the one that was there when James rented the equipment and the specific supplies. A split board, skins for it, a probe, a beacon, a shovel, and a helmet. Only the probe and the helmet were never returned. And he never questioned why the helmet wasn't returned, due to the understanding that anyone that dies with equipment that they wear and is lost in the wilderness for 30 days made sense. However, he was kind of unbothered by the probes. And when asking Brian what would ever cause someone to take that specific route that James McGrogan took, he says it's basically unexplainable. That route was not normal, and it was an extremely difficult route, even for training, let alone fun. And the exact journey isn't factual, but they allege that it went something like this. He would have had to climb up 1,296 feet to then 1,000 feet down towards the creek, then up another 1,100 feet again to get to the peak of Bald Mountain, which is about 12,000 feet. That's a lot. Then he descended to a lower summit, and then another 1,130 feet down again. The end of his journey, where his body was found, was another far drop, leading to his resting place. And what doesn't make sense is through this entire journey, it's estimated he never used the skis for going down the mountain, since they were found attached to his pack when his corpse was found. And that's around a 4.5 mile long trip just going in a straight line. So it would actually be 12 to 16 miles long due to the zigzag down up steep cliffs and whatnot. And all of this is what James McGrogan allegedly traveled, all on his own, with loose snow that
I'm saying some food and shit like that.
Yeah, the moderators are gonna listen to the creepy podcast.
Yep.
Oh my god, it's 110.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god. One more round and I'm gonna be on the leaderboard. Let's go.
that could have been an avalanche.
Don't
So completely
Yeah, I can't accidentally die right now. Oh my god, that would be tragic. What would happen if I tied? Like, would they show both of us? That's just weird.
I don't think so. Probably just whoever was first.
unsafe, basically. So why would an experienced hiker put himself through this? So it's really unfortunate because it's so unexplainable, and the phenomenon of the Oz effect and its eerie undertones really make that place seem haunted or paranormal, possibly. There's really no explanation. Did James see something that caused him to walk off the path? Or was he dealing with something behind the scenes that people didn't know about? Or was he really not in his right mind and something caused him to act so strangely that still to this day can't be explained? I don't know. All I know is that it is a truly depressing, horrible tale in what was meant to be a very fun boys trip ended in death. And in the last case of our crazy conspiratorial disappearances, we have Tom Messick. On November 15th, 2015, an 82-year-old man went missing.
Hey, they signed up for this shit. I don't give a fuck.
That's true.
I mean, I feel a little bad because I gotta listen to all my music tastes for hours. If it's not their thing,
listen to like our conversation. Okay, I don't think we said anything too weird.
I think these zombies are moaning in my ears. Okay, speak now, what?
I don't think we've said anything too weird, so it's fine.
Oh my god, I'm gonna eat dinner. I've been playing since like 12:30, it's now 5. Yeah, I'm hungry as fuck. I'm hungry. okay. I guess I gotta go one more round.
Well, why?
Because I killed the last. I need to save the last so I could AFK.
Oh, okay, I see. Which one are you? Which round are you in right now?
111.
Oh, nice. Let's see if okay, all I'm saying is I would not last 111 rounds.
Missing while on a hunting trip with his friends near Lily Pond, located in the Adirondack Mountains in New York at around 10 a.m. in the morning. He was a very experienced hunter and outdoorsman, and he had extensive experience with rifles due to his background as an ex-paratrooper for the 82nd Airborne Division and the hunter safety classes he taught. He was known to be reliable and independent, so there was no question that he knew exactly what he was doing. However, at 82 years of age, an accident that left him blind in one eye when he was in his 20s was catching up to him. So the group he was with had walkie-talkies, but this was the first time they had hunted in this particular area before, so they made sure to stay close and keep in contact. However, a plan in scaring the deers towards each other was made to draw the wildlife into the area that they were in. But before separating, they agreed to meet up at the rendezvous point at around 2 p.m. So after the group separated, they began the hunt. And what was strange about this hunting trip so far is that they hadn't seen any deer where they
Madison, do you want to eat dinner soon? Like right now? You're not ready yet?
I really want to sit down there though.
Oh.
Told her to say hi.
Or you want to just get a box and then I'll sit down there? I don't know.
Ask Brittany if she wants to sit down.
I don't even know if I want to sit down there myself. For real. Okay, I'll ask. Alright, I'll see you later. I'm gonna go, like, eat. Oh.
Okay, yeah. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.